Okay, we're in the Gemara, Daf 56 of Avodah Zarah. So it says, and one may not harvest grapes together with a Jew who produces wine from his fruit in a state of ritual impurity, as he is thereby causing the produce to be rendered impure. And all the more so one may not tread on grapes with him, as he is assisting the Jew who is rendering the wine impure by treading on the grapes. But one may harvest grapes into the winepress together with a Gentile, as it is permitted to impart impurity to non-sacred produce that is in Eretz Yisrael. The Mishnah teaches, and the Gentile's touch does not render the juice of the grapes into wine used for a libation until it descends into the vat, because until then it does not have the status of wine. The Gemara asks, but isn't it taught in the Mishnah, Ma'asrot 1:7, with regard to the stage when the work of producing the wine is considered complete and one is obligated to separate tithes from the wine? With regard to wine, one is obligated to separate tithes from the time that the solid residue floats on top of the wine. So Rava said, it is not difficult. That Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, whereas this Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis, meaning the majority. This is, as we learned in a Braita, with regard to wine, one is obligated to separate tithes from the time that the wine descends into the collection vat. So Rabbi Akiva says, one is obligated to separate tithes only from the time that the solid residue floats on top of the wine. A dilemma was raised before the sages. Is Rabbi Akiva referring to floating of the seeds on top of the wine in the collection vat, or the floating of the yeast on top of the wine in the barrel? So the Gemara suggests, Tashema, come and hear a resolution on this issue as it is taught in the Mishnah. With regard to wine, one is obligated to separate tithes from the time that the solid residue floats on top of the wine. Subsequently, even though the residue has floated, one may collect wine from the upper wine press and from the pipe that collects the upper wine press to the vat, and one may drink it without separating tithes. Conclude from the Mishnah that we are speaking about the floating of the seeds on top of the wine in the collection vat. The Gemara affirms, conclude from it that is so. So the Gemara asks, but didn't Rav Zvid teach a different version of the aforementioned dispute in a Braita of the school of Rabbi Oshaya? With regard to wine, one is obligated to separate tithes from the time that the wine descends into the collection vat and the seeds float on top. So Rabbi Akiva says one is obligated to separate tithes only from the time that one siphons the wine from the vat into barrels. The Gemara replies that one can resolve the contradiction. Explain that first Braita in this manner as well. With regard to wine, one is obligated to separate tithes from the time that the wine descends into the vat and the seeds float on top. So Rabbi Akiva says one is obligated to separate tithes only from the time that one siphons the wine from the vat into barrels. The Gemara asks, but whose opinion is expressed in the Mishnah that teaches the Gentile does not render the juice of the grapes into wine used for a libation until it floats into the collection into the collection vat? Shall we say that the stage when the work of producing the wine is considered complete is subject to a dispute between three Tanaim? The Gemara replies, no, the prohibition of wine used for a libation is different, as the sages were stringent concerning it, and render the wine forbidden even before the seeds float. By contrast, with regard to tithes, the Tana of this Mishnah holds in accordance with the opinion of either Rabbi Akiva or the rabbis. The Gemara comments, and according to Rava, who explains that the Mishnah with regard to wine used for libations is in accordance with one opinion, whereas the Mishnah with regard to tithes is in accordance with another opinion, he does not hold that the case of wine used for a libation is different. He interprets it as a dispute between three Tanaim. So the Mishnah teaches, once the wine descends into the collection vat, that which is in the vat is prohibited, and the rest, which did not descend into the vat, is permitted. So Rav Huna says the Mishnah taught that the rest of the wine is permitted only in a case where he did not return the wicker basket, which is used to strain the wine on the way to the vat, to the wine press. Which is used to strain the wine on the way to the vat to the wine press. But if he returned the wicker basket to the winepress, even the wine remaining in the winepress is prohibited, as the wine in the basket renders the wine in the winepress forbidden. The Gemara asks, with regard to the wine in the wicker basket itself, in what manner is it rendered forbidden? Apparently, it is rendered forbidden by the stream of liquid that flows from the basket into the vat below, thereby collecting the wine in the basket to the forbidden wine in the vat. If so, conclude from Rav Huna's statement that an uninterrupted stream of liquid is considered a collection. The Gemara rejects the inference. The reason for Rav Huna's statement could be different, as Rav Chia teaches that if one fills a Gentile's flask through a funnel, The wine in the funnel was rendered forbidden in a case where the level of the wine in his flask rose and reached the funnel. Here too, Rav Huna is referring to a case where the level of the wine in his collection vat rose and reached the basket. The Gemara relates, there was a certain outstanding child who learned the tractate of Avodah Zarah when he was 6 years old. People raised a dilemma to him. What is the halacha? Is it permitted to tread on grapes in the winepress together with the Gentile? The child said to them, one may tread on grapes in the winepress together with the Gentile in accordance with the ruling of the Mishnah. They asked the child, but doesn't the Gentile render the wine a libation by touching it with his hands, rendering it forbidden? If so, how may a Jew derive benefit from the wine by receiving payment for his work? The child replied, it is permitted in a case where we tie his hands so that he cannot pour the wine as a libation. The child was then asked, but doesn't the Gentile render the wine a libation by touching it with his foot? The child replied, rendering wine a libation by touching it with one's foot is not considered rendering it a libation. The Gemara relates, there was a certain incident in Nahardea in which a Jew and a Gentile trod on grapes and produced a certain wine together. And Shmuel delayed ruling on the matter for 3 festivals. As the sages gathered during the festivals and presented Shmuel with the opportunity to clarify the matter with them, the Gemara asked, what is the reason that Shmuel delayed his ruling? If we say that Shmuel delayed ruling on the matter because he thought to himself, and that is the end of Daf 56. Thanks for watching.